Unfortunately, this is getting very difficult, and it's only going to get worse. Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome to even more first look content of Sea Power, Naval Combat in the Missile Age, a game that's coming out in November of 2024, made by Jurassic Games AB, and published by, oh yes, Microprose. They're back, and I'm really happy to see them making and publishing even more games, including Sea Power, and the previous game that the developer worked on, or at least some of the devs, was Cold Waters, a game that was just absolutely mind-blowing. I can remember covering it like 6 or 7 years ago, blowing up Soviet carriers and other subs, and it was a ton of fun, but only primarily featured a lot of US subs that eventually, people modded into allowing for surface ships and also commanding Soviet submarines, and that was really cool too, and I was happy to see it. Now we have ourselves a beautiful and amazing predecessor, and that's what's so difficult. It's getting hard to contain all of our excitement and really hard to figure out what this game will be, as we're playing more and more of a complete version, but yet not the release version. This will have a full campaign, it'll have more scenarios, of course, a mission editor, mods, and has a wonderful encyclopedia, as well as some tutorials that'll be coming along too to help everyone learn all the different weapon systems on things like destroyers and submarines and carriers and all the different planes that you would imagine, and helicopters that can both hunt for subs and launch weapons against them, but then also could be used to relay radar information back and forth too. So it's getting really impossible to contain my excitement. I see so many of you so knowledgeable, so many former and current, especially U.S. Naval service personnel, whether they're sonar operators or serve on a carrier or whatnot, very knowledgeable about weapons that primarily were featured in this game from mid-60s to about the mid-80s, and a lot of those systems and ways that things are done are still very much the same. Although the technology is new, a lot of the practices are the same. So very cool though. I love seeing all your experiences. I love hearing everybody talk about everything from like a chili mac and chuck wagon stew on many different ships that they served on, or subs, to for different types of food, and or just people talking about all the cool equipment that they're excited to see, and or weapons that they're really knowledgeable about that they want to see deployed. Well, no more blabbing for me, other than I think you should definitely sub to this channel if you want to. No pun intended with the background. Sub to the channel if you want to see more Sea Power, Naval Combat in the Missile Age, and definitely hit the like button so more of these videos pop up in your feed. I am by no means the most qualified to talk about it, but I think I'm very damn good at having a lot of fun with these games and goofing around. So let's jump into today's scenario. We're going to go ahead and jump into a playable scenario, which, by the way, you can make many of your own and save them and share them here through Steam. Many of these you may have seen before, but we're going to go for one that we've seen only once before on this channel briefly. I actually want to get into that Vietnam one very soon in Dong Hoi, but we're going to go for Charles. We're going to be on the search for some Russian SSGNs, aka subs, and more than one of them, hence the S. Anyway, let's go ahead and get underway and see if we can find the enemy. And here we are. So a couple of things about this scenario in today's video that are important to keep in mind, so definitely don't miss it. For those of you who may have jumped forward or whatnot to this part, make sure you go back and watch the beginning of the video, but also I know there'll be a lot of people to jump later on into the action and miss what I'm about to say, so just let them know. Basically what we're here to do is to see how the game functions and what types of things and weapons that we can toy around with and things that we can do to look for enemy subs. It may not be the best example of what to do, but really some of the things that we can do, showing off all of its features and whatnot. So some of my reactions may be slow, and of course when it comes to anti-submarine warfare, many call it not anti-submarine warfare, but awfully slow warfare, so we're in no rush here to do anything, as it'll take quite some time. So for this scenario, we have ourselves a couple of friendly ships, a few U.S. destroyers and whatnot that are out there, but also some, actually, if we can go over here, I think we can see a damn near miss with a, very close to a collision here, yeah, between two ships. Right over here we have the OCL freighter that's hitting the high seas here and getting out of the way, as well as our, what is this here, the Istoskin or whatever. I can't pronounce any of these damn things, but basically it's like an OHP from what I can see, with many different weapon systems on it, and yeah, they're zooming around. So the Soviets will be firing their torpedoes at our ships, and we're going to be listening for them, and we're going to do so with some helicopters. So this will be quite cool. We could actually call out helicopters onto the deck of some of these ships, and also carriers too in the game, which you can then customize a lot of their loadouts. Here we're loaded for anti-submarine warfare, so we're going to go ahead and launch one of these helicopters. We actually have multiples that we can launch. We're going to go to all of our ships and see if they have the ability to launch a helicopter. A clue here would be if there's like a hangar door, and then of course the little helicopter or aircraft button here in the lower right corner, so then we can pick what aircraft we want to launch and what we want it to launch with. Now here they're already preset for the scenario, so no problem here. I think this one also should have one. Unfortunately, it does not at the moment. We can see, of course, the hangar, but no button to press down there. So right now, you may have seen some of our ships towing a wire behind them too. This is actually a way to listen for different things, and the Soviets even have that as well. There you go. You can see here, and we might be able to see it here. We have the towed sonar LF, low frequency, below layer. So essentially, we're listening kind of deep for enemy subs. It's a much better way to listen further and deeper for any enemy contacts. Now, there's that helicopter there. It's been deployed out onto the landing pad, and it's going to fire up here shortly and take off and basically fly next to the ship, and it'll be loaded with a few buoys that can listen for enemy submarines. It also has something it can tow behind it that can listen for or detect enemy subs through kind of magnetics. And then also, of course, torpedoes, Mark 46s, I believe, that are kind of dummy torpedoes that aren't as good as the Mark 48s, but can get the job done. Now, right now, it's 1979 in the game, so yeah, we're pre-80s technology, and we're out on the lookout for some Soviet subs that apparently are harassing these ships here. Yeah, actually, some of these are very close to real-life logos and shipping companies, too, so we got to be very careful about these ships. I don't know why they're so damn close to each other and why there's so many of them, but I guess it's just to make a massive hazard for us, including even civilian aircraft. So you got to watch out with your missiles, you got to watch out with your torpedoes. It's basically just kind of teaching you, hey, it is very easy to do this warfare when it's just you versus the enemy, but when the enemy is kind of entangled between all these civilian vessels and aircraft, it becomes a lot more complex. So something to definitely consider there. Now, something that I've seen so far in this game is that, and I don't believe this is a factor, fuel at the moment. Other than maybe with torpedoes, I think indefinitely ships and aircraft can kind of fly around, and I have yet to toy a little bit more deeper with carrier-launched aircraft, and I want to see if every aircraft in the game does not have fuel. For example, the trailers show B-52s, but also it shows F-14, so we'll have to see what will eventually come to the game, perhaps for balancing later after it's released. Maybe that'll be a thing. So that way, of course, you have to plan your attacks a little bit more precisely. You can't just fly across the entirety of Asia in order to drop a bomb and then fly back, even from a carrier. So we're going to go ahead and start assigning these aircraft to, and actually, wait a minute, I would like to try to launch another one from this ship if we can, since there are two little doors here. I believe there's a second helicopter that we can launch. Yes, indeed. So we'll have that one launch as well, and we'll have all three of these working in tandem with the ships in order to try to detect the enemy submarines that are out there. So they're going to be trying to fire torpedoes at us, all sorts of just incredibly scary torpedoes that are very capable well, they're kind of dummy torpedoes, but they're incredibly powerful, and although they're a little dumb, they're not incapable. They're very, very dangerous, and so yeah, it's something very important to keep in mind. But yeah, looking at the game as a whole, the world is beautiful. I have yet to try out things like weather effects. I would love to see different types of storm effects and rain and whatnot that might affect some of the ships a little earlier. From what I've been told, pretty much from the 80s on forward, there's minimal effect that the weather can do on a lot of these ships when it comes to, you know, like radar and things like that. They should be able to penetrate through many weather events in order to detect enemy aircraft, but maybe it's not as capable in the 60s and 70s. I'm no expert. I'm just saying what I was told. But it does definitely make sense to me that obviously newer technology would probably be able to see through a lot of that. But for the game, I definitely want to be able to see more rougher seas and more weather effects and water effects too. But this looks great. This is really good. Like, if this is what it is, then this is just fine. Because what I mentioned previously in other videos, and as we've made mention in a lot of the encyclopedia looks, which By the way, make sure you again sub for that, because for those of you who want to see all the ships, all the aircraft, all the missiles, and all the ground forces and more, we're going to cover all that too, because of course these helicopters and aircraft don't just have to launch from ships, they can also launch from land, and there's those types of combat too, including literally radar dishes and ground-based anti-aircraft weapons that could be used against your helicopters, your aircraft, your landing troops, and or airfields that you might have to actually attack or defend in the campaign too. Now, I'm hoping to see the campaign be a lot like how it was in Cold Waters, where random events that are out of your control can happen, but also a lot of events can be in your control, like being told, hey, meet at this point and look for an enemy convoy or something like that. And if you destroy it, it benefits you, and if you miss, it really hurts you. But also important to know that, for example, like random events can happen that are out of your control, like a battle could be won or lost by the AI, and then that's going to force you to essentially, have to like scrounge up more supplies. Maybe the enemy will destroy a supply convoy, so you'll be at a disadvantage that way. And I hope to see that in this game too. That was Cold Waters, but I want to see it here too. Okay, I think our ships are actually in a formation. There's some more information on that too. If we right-click on our ships, we can see a lot more about them. So this is our, as I mentioned, the Oliver Hazard Perry class, but the name of it is down here. So the Estoskin, whatever. Anyway, this is the type of ship that it is. You can see all of its weapons here and sensors here and its capabilities. So you can see how long it is, the beam, maximum speed is 29 knots at this time. And we can also see some of its sensors. So if we want to know what the heck a SPS-49 is, we click on that, and it gives us a good amount of information. So certainly don't be afraid to slow down the time in the game or pause completely in order to read anything. And then, of course, if you're wondering what the RGM-84 is, well, there you go. It's basically a anti-surface weapon, like a anti-ship missile, almost like a Tomahawk in a way, but it's the Harpoon. It's the Harpoon missile. So slow, but very powerful. Certainly something you don't want to be on the other side of, for sure. But in addition to that, we can also see damage control systems. So right here, all the ships should be set to auto. So if we take a torpedo hit, which we likely could, they'll immediately jump into action. All the DC teams will be able to starting to control hull damage and flooding. So hull damage and flooding will be two things that they'll aim to control. Also fires too. So that'll be very important for us. So good stuff. In addition to that, we can also see the unit formation, so we can create, join, and do other things with that. So just by right-clicking, we can do a lot. Oh, that's a cool scene, the chopper passing by. We can basically do a lot from that. We can also, of course, WASD and direct control the ships, too. So if we want to speed them up or slow them down, we can do that, or do direct control with A&D to try to dodge torpedoes, or do everything via the tactical display. Okay, let's go ahead and start getting these choppers and gear. We're going to go start looking for the enemy, and we're going to start going way out in front of us here. And I'm going to try to tell these helicopters to go out and start dropping some buoys for us. Great music in this game. I think they've picked a generic soundtrack that sounds good no matter when you're listening to it. And I just heard, too, that Broken Arrow was delayed as well. And I've got to say that this game and Broken Arrow, although they are completely different, have got me equally excited for what's possible for these types of games. In fact, in Broken Arrow, there is a playable mission which does feature a naval landing with literally hovercraft coming ashore. You've got F-18s from carriers that are being launched, and you also have other, I think there are destroyers launching cruise missiles and such at the shore. And so I hope to see in Broken Arrow what we can possibly see in this game too, at least in terms of ground combat and ground support, and also anti-ship activity too, because of course in that game there's going to be ground-based anti-ship missile systems that will launch too. So it'll be really cool to see both of these games really work in tandem, although they're completely different publishers, completely different developers. They've got me equally excited, and of course Broken Arrow is in the modern era, as where this is up to 85. Regardless of that, a lot of weapons were still made in the 70s, made in the 80s and 90s, and you'll see them in both games. So yeah, very cool. Microprose is also publishing another game that I can't stop praising, Regiments. Really good. Reminded me a lot of the early European Escalation, but also the earlier War Game. And not War Game, but World in Conflict. But War Game, of course, that whole series, Red Dragon and whatnot, all good stuff. Okay, what we're going to do here is these are actually prepared to do pretty much anything we need them to do. So as you can see, they've got some torpedoes at the bottom. They've also got, I believe, the buoys which come out from the sides here, and then they've also got this little cone here that can be deployed if the helicopters are to drop down to 20 feet. So we're going to try that for now. We're going to fly around and listen to, or for, Soviet subs with that. Listen's not really the word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean. We're basically trying to detect them, and we're going to make sure we drop down for that. Now, I've noticed a few things in this game that are a little weird, like, for example, if you set these helicopters on a, like a flight plan where you hold control to make different waypoints, the helicopter will go back up to cruising altitude between that, and there's a few things that are also weird about submarine controls that I found. For example, you can set your submarine to maybe like ahead 1/3, and if you tell them to go active sonar, for example, your submarine will then start cavitating as if you've asked it to speed up, so the effect of the water will basically be affected by the yeah, it's weird, like the active sonar, which, you know, if you're actively searching for an enemy sub, you're probably going to give yourself away. On the other hand, that's a little weird because, you know, I don't think a sonar is going to give to change the mechanics or the parameters of a propeller. So anyway, it is time to start dropping buoys. We're going to try to do a T pattern here. So we're going to pity the fool who tries to mess with the U.S. Navy. That's basically why they do that as per tradition. It's not, but it's funny if you don't think about it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start dropping all these wonderful little buoys. And, of course, we can easily detect a Soviet sub below the surface if we happen to get close to it. All right. Now let's see if we can start dropping these things. This is what we're looking for here, the AN/SSQ-53. And if you're wondering what that is, again, remember you can right-click on the chopper. You can then click on the little weapon there. In this case, it's kind of a weapon, not really, but you can see what it could do. It's a sono buoy, and I don't think it actually says it's... yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't list its distance, but it's really far. But we do want to set these up in a line. So let's go ahead and start setting these up. We go ahead and click here and have them start placing them if we can. So that P is exactly what we're looking for. We're going to try to spread them out a little bit. Not too far, not too close. Go ahead and start with 4 up that way. And then I'll have the other chopper do 4 down at the bottom. We're setting up what they call a barrier, I believe. I'm going to also start some out in the middle. And I'm basically going to make kind of a T this way, but then also kind of a branch out that way. I'm trying to basically create a grid where I can detect where the enemy subs are by listening for them. And these sono buoys are really sensitive, so we should be able to pick them up at a distance, at a very good distance. Okay, so I think we're about ready to drop the first buoy on the first chopper.
On station.
There he goes, yep, okay. Alright, so this chopper is almost to where it needs to be. And this chopper is the SH-2F. Very cool looking chopper. Oh, there it goes. Yep, popped right out. And it even animated it and shows one missing from the side. So these are very detailed models for all the choppers, all the helicopters, all the torpedoes, all the weapons systems on a ship, the ships themselves, all very well detailed. So very impressed with that, very happy with that. Happy to see it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start dropping buoys this way too. And then we're going to also start doing it this way as well. Now, what's great about these games is you really shouldn't have to go in... You shouldn't have to be a... watch 1,000 hours of YouTube videos. You shouldn't have to be a former naval expert or whatever, or a veteran or anything like that to enjoy these games. You should be able to learn, invent your own tactics, and even if it works, it works. You know, even if it's not the most efficient way, there should be nothing stopping you from having fun in these games and learning, and then trying to be really interested in, okay, I've done it this way, but there must be a better way, and then going on your own to then learn these things from other content creators, other sources, and or maybe even the in-game tutorials where they might teach you how it's actually done IRL. We've got something here pinging off. Wait a minute. We've got a noise over this way. That is an interesting thing to detect already. Hold on. This could be anything. But more importantly, it could be a Soviet sub. We've already got a noise, so let's go ahead and start. That could be a torpedo. It does look like it could be. It's going for the Tucker, it looks like. We do have a torpedo. Torpedoes have been fired. Multiple torpedoes. I'm not exactly sure where they're going. Oh, look at that. A long line of torpedoes, but also a noise behind, which means that could be the sub that fired it. If we can get on top of that, we can drop some of our torpedoes on them. We've got a long time to try to avoid these torpedoes, so I'm not going to take any action with our ship just yet. We're going to focus on trying to find out... Oh, look at this. Now, there's multiple submarines, so this will be curious to see. 8.9 decibels. That's definitely a sub. Let's see if we can get a little blip with our thingy here. Magnetic anomaly, semi-small. So that little thing that we're towing here is detecting that. So we need to drop some torpedoes on that thing right now. We need to kill it before it lays any more eggs. Let's see if we can do it again. We'll try to drop another Mark 46 on there. He's a little far away, but I think they'll both need to make a turn. Now, another thing, too, I'm pretty sure the AI is very smart in terms of avoiding each other in mid-air collisions. I haven't seen any of that yet. They've gotten close, but they seem to be smart enough to avoid each other, so I'm happy with that.
Track 7005 is classified hostile submerged submarine.
Yeah, so
Engage track 7005.
maybe destroy that.
Track 7005.
I am not sure where those torpedoes are going, but they could be towards the friendly ships. There's not much we can do to stop torpedoes.
Weapon away.
We are dropping our weapons, though. Torpedoes are away. Mark 46s will be looking for the enemy. Noisemaker is in the water. Wow, our torpedoes are hauling. Here they are. Yeah, they're going very quick.
On station. Contact activated. Track 7005. Hit track 7005.
Looks like they hit something. Soviet noisemakers are pretty much everywhere. I'm trying to see here on the map where they may be coming from. So I think it's two subs that are in close proximity with each other. We do have other weapons that can fire, including one of the things that I learned about recently, an RUR-5. I'm not sure how close we need to be for that to be used, but it looks like it might be within that range.
Engage track 7005.
That we see.
Buoy away.
Yeah, let's keep going with those buoys. Okay, let's bring the other chopper down.
Turn to course
And we'll try to keep our choppers kind of lingering around for now.
Hit track 7005.
No. With the two submarines possibly very close to each other, it is entirely possible that we did hit one of the enemy subs. There's a noisemaker here and a noise there. And then there's a bunch of noisemakers here. And there was a hit up here, it sounded like. We'll fly our helicopter up there.
Turn to course 306. No line.
Let's drop a buoy.
Buoy away.
Excellent.
Turn to course 53. No line. Firm 20. On station.
Ah, so it does look like that could be a submarine here. If we're looking at the map, it does appear that there could be a submarine here.
Turn to course 1.
And also down here somewhere.
Turn to course 295. No line.
We'll see. Noisemakers all over the place, and that probably means a lot of torpedoes coming through too. Look at these enemy torpedoes. These things are crazy.
Torpedo in the water. Bearing. On station.
Time to start taking evasive action.
Turn to course 240. No line. Turn to course 229. No line. Contact faded. Track 7006.
Ah, we finally found our friend. Hiding right here. So, yes, we have ourselves a K503. I think he's sweating a little bit. But you can see exactly how we can track him. And exactly where he's hiding. So we could try to bring another one of our choppers over. Or our torpedoes are actually on patrol. Where'd that other helicopter go?
Torpedo in the water. Torpedo in the water. Bearing.
Yeah, more torpedoes.
Turn to course 288. No line.
Try to avoid those. And try to find our other chopper that had... torpedoes on it. He's still on his way. A long way away. So I set up a huge search area for just 2 submarines. Well, there could be more. There could be 2 here, then maybe 2 more somewhere else. We got our torpedoes in the water here. And wait a minute. Hold on. Is that a large oil slick on the surface there? I think maybe we did hit that one submarine, but I wasn't sure of any sort of actual damage. But that definitely looks like an oil slick above the water. Oh, yeah. That's really cool.
Track 7006.
Okay, we definitely confirmed a lot of the noisemakers here. Ah, we did kill one of the Charlies. We got him good. I wasn't sure that he was actually hit. It doesn't seem to be much damage to him. Probably just faulty Soviet design. It couldn't be from me. But we did get several hit tracks on him for sure. So we definitely have one of them dead. Wow. Okay, one down, one to go.
Track 7007. Contact faded. Track, turn to course 2.
Go ahead and see if we can drop some buoys around. So yeah, those helicopters are absolutely merciless. In cold waters, that was your worst nightmare. When the enemies started to come over and start dipping their sound equipment into the water and then started dropping torpedoes nearby, it was really, really a bad time. Let's see, we're about to have some bad times too. Look at that, just below the surface. Look at that.
Torpedo in the water, bearing.
We're going to see what happens here. Enemy is chasing our shipping here for a very long distance. These submarines can fire these torpedoes for an incredible amount of time. I heard that these things, and I'm not sure if this is accurate or not, but can go for maybe 4 hours or so. They can run for a very long time. They're very low energy, low effort, high damage, that kind of thing. Like they're very smart weapons by being so slow.
Multiple hostile contacts.
Turn to course
Okay, let's go that way.
2. No lie.
Torpedoes are still chasing the merchants. Noisemakers in the south down there. Did he get down that far? We could have even more.
Turn to course 170. No lie.
We could be dealing with maybe 4 enemy submarines. Who knows? That Charlie 2 at the bottom. Where's that chopper? I'd like to click on the chopper that's above that.
Contact faded. Track 7007.
There we are. Okay, so we've definitely scored some kills here, and we've definitely caused some damage.
Turn to course 167. No, turn to course 158. No lie.
Looks like we've successfully avoided the torpedoes. That's good.
On station. Contact faded.
Okay, we have more noisemakers down here.
Turn to course 175. No lie.
Uh-oh. Torpedoes are mad. They're coming back for a little revenge here. Finding the wake of this ship here, I thought we were in the clear. But I want to show off some of the damage here of our ships and how the damage control teams will react. Let's try to, first of all, fire off some noisemakers.
Head flank. Maneuvering I.
I'm going to try to go ahead. Okay.
Contact faded. Track 70.
Well, that was very quick. That was much faster than I thought they would arrive. But we've taken some damage. We've taken a hit.
Contact faded.
So you can see here that there's moderate hull damage, and the damage control teams are already hard at work. So really not that bad of damage. Not great to be hit, but there doesn't seem to be much damage at all. Didn't even look to be much damage to the Soviets either, so I'm not sure. But I've seen damage models before, and they look good in the game. So now we're using our little microphone, basically our array, to search for that. It's not exactly how it works, but you get what I mean.
Turn to course 160. No lie. Confirm 20.
Cool stuff. Alright. Very cool how those torpedoes actually turned to strike us as well. Oh, and we've got some hits here too. So that's really amazing at how quickly it looks like you're in the clear, and those torpedoes can cut right back around and come up behind and cause some damage. I believe this ship is a loss then. So let's go ahead and take a look here at what the damage may be. We have a gearing class. And if we check out damage control, apparently this says moderate flooding, moderate hull damage, but that seems to be a little bit more than moderate. You can see here flooding, fires, there we are, heavy flooding. Okay, so now it's escalated. And yeah, there's our vessel that can fire the RUR-5, which I think is like sort of a airborne torpedo that can come down that way. But again, look at the smoke and fire. This really is on par with like Wolfpack, which is another great, or U-Boat, other great submarine games. But this looks really good, and you can see how the damage control teams will try to do their best. But this is gonna be a abandoned ship. But look at that, secondary explosions and stuff. Again, if we were playing seriously, not good for us. But overall, as a game, oh, and look at that, they've dropped the lifeboats too. That's great. And you can see again all the oil in the water. I think well, maybe that's the reflection of the smoke, but you should be able to see all that. Very cool stuff. We'll try to punish the Soviets by getting another submarine there. We'll see if we can close in on them. But amazing scenario, and really cool how it's kind of a dummy scenario, very easily set up where there's submarines directly in front of you. You just got to find them. It's very easy to find them, but then you can see how quickly tactics can come into play where they can hide themselves, evade, get away from your torpedoes, get away from any sort of weapons systems, and you know, be a nuisance for a while and continue to fire torpedoes from various positions. So cool stuff. Not great that our ships are hit or sunk or sinking. Wow, even this one with the minimal damage is going down. Okay, that one, this is the, oh, look at the oil slick too. That's cool. This was the first ship that we saw where it didn't look like there was much damage at all or much flooding, especially visually. There was like no, I mean, the ship looks in pretty damn good pristine condition. So I think something, they must have updated something, because there would be large, just giant holes in the sides of ships and, you know, gashes and things like that that will be, you know, unmistakable of any sort of sinking. So hopefully that'll change in the future, because it didn't look like we were hit that bad. But yeah, I think the Soviets are probably faring a little better than we are now. But rest assured, these are scenarios you can play time and time again. And I think another thing that would benefit this game would be the ability for the scenarios to be immediately reversed. To be able to play as both sides of a scenario would be really cool, even if it were something that you were unlikely to win. Like, for example, in Vietnam, you basically get patrol boats versus, like, it may as well be the Death Star. There's no way you could win, but it still would be cool to be able to fire off torpedoes. Well, maybe you could win.
Turn to course 112 LI.
But still pretty cool. And yeah, it'd be great to be the Charlies in this scenario too, and try to harass shipping, which is exactly why our ships are here. But overall, it is really cool to see the amount of equipment that we have, even for 1970. The amount of weapons that we have, helicopters, the missiles, how damage control works, the overall appearance of the game. Really cool stuff. So anything else you can share for a tip for things that players would have access to, or things that you're excited to see, make sure you comment down below. And I'd like to see and hear more from all of you, for sure. So, as I mentioned for today's video, this is not a tutorial on how to play sea power naval combat in the Missile Age, nor is it really a full example of everything there is in the game, or even a complete version. That'll still be coming along sometime soon. The developers have over about a month to get all the finishing touches in before everyone, including you all, have access to it, and I can't wait to see it. So, let me know what you think of the game down below in the comments section. I will be putting out more videos on basically breaking down all of the main Soviet stuff, all of the main American stuff, all the things for Warsaw and NATO in between, and then of course more videos on these wonderful scenarios that the developers have put together that act really like a great tutorial. Again, there's much more to do in this game besides just searching for torpedoes and submarines, and also becoming the submarines and playing against the enemy too. We have carriers coming up, and also some battleship scenarios. There's more stuff we've got planned from like day one that many of you wanted to see. I've got them written down, and we'll be ready to roll soon with more sea power naval combat in the Missile Age. All right, give me a hello down below in the comments section if you watched this far. We'll have some giveaways, I think, for all you fine folks too. So by simply saying hi, we can come on back to this video and try to get a few people some keys to sea power, naval combat in the Missile Age. All right, goodbye, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.